So this morning, as this is my first talk of this brand new cycle in time we call 2024, I want to explore the infinite creative power of this indwelling presence that we just rested so beautifully and deeply into. The infinite creative power of this indwelling presence that we call God or Great Spirit. Um, there's a scripture verse in Acts 17:27 that says, "God is not far from each one of us, for in Him we live and move and have our being." In Him, in her, in that we live and move and have our being, our beingness. In other words, you could say in infinite intelligence and loving consciousness, we live and move and have our being. So I believe, as I'm contemplating this new year of 2024, that our greatest New Year's resolution, at least for me, my greatest one, would be to give our whole attention and intention to aligning wholeheartedly with the indwelling presence. Wholeheartedly, and letting that greatly inspire how we create our lives in this new now, in this new year. There's a beautiful scripture from the Srimad Bhagavatam that describes the creative capacity of this indwelling presence. It reads, and it's from the view of God speaking, "Nothing whatsoever exists without me or beyond me. The atoms of the universe may be counted, but not so my manifestations, for eternally I create innumerable worlds." Eternally I create innumerable worlds. You know, that is really something to contemplate, that this indwelling presence that we have, that we are, eternally creates innumerable worlds. You know, that is mind stretching. It stretches our mind, and that's so important to have our mind stretched, because I think sometimes we can get a little lost in the mundane thoughts. Anybody? Am I the only one that deals with that? We want to expand into extraordinary thoughts, extraordinary thoughts, right? Especially for our life, right? So here's another mind expanding, mind stretching fact. I love the James Webb Telescope, and I love all these pictures, and I love seeing the vastness of the universe. And recently, I think it was this last fall, they found this exoplanet, which is a probably habitable planet, they say, and they named it K2-18b, and it seems to have a whole lot of water, And it's only 120 light years away. And it also has a lot of carbon, which is essential for life, and it also has methyl sulfide. Methyl sulfide is only produced by life, usually in marine environments. Isn't that really neat to contemplate? And then here we go, we can stretch our mind further, because since we've got these powerful telescopes, aside from K2-18b, we have confirmed, the scientists, NASA has confirmed over 5,000 exoplanets just in the Milky Way, just in our galaxy. Over 5,000 just in our galaxy. And do you know how many galaxies there are out there? Okay, so minimally 200 billion, 200 billion. Okay, so anybody know what 5,000 times 200 billion is? That is a lot of habitable planets. So when we read this scripture, this 5,000-year-old scripture from the Srimad Bhagavatam that says, "The atoms of the universe may be counted, but not so my manifestations, for eternally I create innumerable worlds," you know, we can conclude that the source of ours, that we're a hologram of, right? That we are made in the image and likeness of, that we're an expression of, that we're always connected to, is vastly, infinitely creative, right? Okay, is your mind stretched? I hope so. I can almost see it, right? So that song that we sang for meditation, who lights the stars, who shines the sun? Um, that was written by Michael Singer, who I met when I was 15 in Gainesville. I used to live in Gainesville, Florida, and he lives there, and he still has this Temple of the Universe. Doesn't that sound great? Temple of the Universe. And I remember I visited him the last time in 2010, 13 years ago, and I was there at his evening satsang, and he sang that song, Who Lights the Stars. I'd never heard it before. And we had meditated with him, and I mean, this song, when we sing with Mickey, I call him Mickey, we all just go into this deep, we chant sometimes for 12, 15 minutes, one song, and we just went into this incredibly deep meditation. And then after the satsang was over, we all went outside, and Mickey said, "Here, I want to show you something." And he had these brand new binoculars, these really high tech, basically telescope technology. And he took me right out into the field there, and he showed me through these binoculars the Pleiades. And then he showed me a nebula. And then he showed me the Andromeda galaxy. It's the only galaxy that we can see from here. So my mind, I was already expansive, right, from the inner journey, going so far in, and then he takes me on this outer journey. And I just was in so much bliss. I was so opened up. It was really a profound experience. And it was neat when I got back home to California. I figured that song out and I recorded it, and I sent the rough mix to him, and he said, "How about would you do a whole CD of my songs?" So we did a CD together called "The Songs of the Untethered Soul." So released in 2012. So in this new now, this moment in time of great possibility, I feel excited about what's possible. And I really invite us all to feel that excitement. I feel like I was sharing with dear new friend Joan, how I feel like after sometimes we go through a struggle like we did with the pandemic, there's a renaissance. If you look at the renaissance periods that have happened over history, they're like this. There's been this contraction, and then there's this big expansion. And so I'm feeling like I'm affirming that right now, that this is a renaissance period in a time of greater awakening. And I think it's really exciting. If the infinite source is ever bringing more worlds into being, then we are connected to that. We can bring more worlds into being. And basically our job is our world, right? Our little world, and how we live and move and have our being every day, every moment of every day. That's our canvas, right? I'm full of quotes this morning. The Hindu Mundaka Upanishad. I'm definitely very, very steeped in Hinduism from my past yogic path, but there's a beautiful quote: "Brahman shines forth, vast, self-luminous, inconceivable, subtler than the subtle. He is far beyond what is far, and yet here very near at hand. Verily he is seen here, dwelling in the cave of the hearts of conscious beings." Dwelling in the cave of the hearts of conscious beings. Conscious being. It means we're awake to the indwelling luminous consciousness. So are we awake? Are we awake is the question. And it's really a moment-to-moment choice, I would say, anymore. We can get lost in the dream of too many mundane thoughts. All you have to do is just read the news for a little while, right? Do you notice what happens to your energy field? I will admit that this world can be distracting from this infinitely powerful indwelling presence. And to tap into it regularly and stay connected to it, it takes commitment. It takes commitment. It takes practice. It takes becoming present and quiet, just getting still. There's another beautiful scripture from Sikhism that says, we need not go searching in the forest for God, for that dwells in us in the same way fragrance dwells in a flower. Isn't that lovely? Like a Casablanca lily. Or the way a reflection dwells in a mirror. Seek that presence in your own heart is the scripture. So I would say that being divine and human, being a divine human, an awakening human, is twofold. The first principle is that we are working on receiving greater and greater consciousness, right? Receiving it and regularly staying connected to it. And that requires what we just did, getting calm and getting quiet. And then the second principle is expressing it, right? It's like you receive it, you have this creative energy, and then you express it. You know, that's the other mastery that we can work on. So what would expressing, here's my question for you, what would expressing greater consciousness look like in your life? What would it look like in your life? That's the question to really reflect on. You know, would it be increased health? Would it be spiritual awakening to a whole nother level? It's really an endless journey, I would say, because I've been on such a growth spurt since my mom passed. It's just opened me up to a level I didn't even know was possible. Spiritual awakening. Would it be greater love in your life? Would it be healing wounds from the past? Would it be realizing a dream that makes your heart light up when you think about it? Anybody have any dreams they want to realize in here? Yes? So, you know, when we contemplate these things, these possibilities, you know, like realizing a dream, they're divine ideas. You could call them divine ideas from the quantum field. That right there is merging science and spirituality. Divine ideas of greater possibility, and that requires mastery of the mind. Charles Fillmore, that founded the Unity movement, he wrote a book called The Atom Smashing Power of Mind. Isn't that a great title? The Atom Smashing Power of Mind. When I think about what did he mean by that, I think he means that mind over matter is a real thing, right? The atom smashing power of mind. But he wrote that the taproot of all confusion is failure to use our mind intelligently. And that it's humanity's privilege to understand the creations of the one mind or God or universal consciousness. And he goes on to say that the creations of the one mind are ideas, and the ideas of God are potential forces waiting to be set in motion through proper formative vehicles. The thinking faculty in humans is such a vehicle. And it's through our conscious cooperation, that the one mind forms its universe. Hence the importance of man's willing cooperation with God in every thought. So I ask you, what is willing cooperation with divine intelligence? What does that mean, to willingly cooperate and co-create with divine intelligence, with God, with cosmic consciousness? Let's just take a moment and think about that. How do we cooperate and by extension co-create with God? Just tell me one way that what comes to mind? How do we cooperate with divine intelligence? That's a lot of answers all at once. Someone said surrender, I think. Did I hear that? Yeah, I like that. Surrender. Yes, what else? Coming from the heart. That's right. Surrender, coming from the heart. What else? Listening. I've got a song called I Am Listening. Yes, communion. Communion with Source and with each other, right? Singing. Who said that? Gold star. My favorite way. Yes, Diane. Yes. Feeling like you're wedded to God. Yes, a lot of, Teresa of Avila said that. You know, she was married to God. Yes. Yes, thank you for that. Serving others, selfless service. Yes, yes. Yeah. Mm-hmm. Yes. That is like, thy will be done, right? Not my will, thy will. Exactly. Beautiful. Yes. Right. Right. Never stop asking. And I love that, the layers, because that is a piece of it. The healing work and the things that block our heart, right? Um, yeah, like guilt, shame, anger, resentment, unforgiveness, the layers. Yes, yes. Oh my goodness. Yes. Yes. Oh, yes. Hmm. Yes. That's it. Oh, I want to say for the folks on Zoom that are listening, breathing with the dying in hospice. You're not separate. You're just with them. There's no thought. Everything stops. Yeah, how beautiful. Thank you. Um, yes, Ocean. Ah, playful. We have to be playful. Okay, I have a joke for you. What do you get if you combine a dyslexic, an agnostic, and a insomniac? Someone who stays up all night contemplating if there really is a dog. Can thank my little brother for that. Oh, thank you for that, Ocean. I wanted to tell that joke today. I didn't know where to fit it in. So, anybody else? Any other? Playing music, yes, playing music and being creative. Art, art. Yeah, dance. Thank you, dance. Yes, yes. Kind of stillness in nature. Oh, yes. Yes, devotion. Yes, yes. And for the people on Zoom, stillness in nature and devotion and bringing that to the mundane. Yeah, beautiful, beautiful. Nature is just so essential. It's so essential for me. So I think you said way more than I had on this list. I mean, it was really quite beautiful, what everyone shared. It's very powerful. We are students of truth, and so we open more, and we do all the things you just named to stay connected to this cosmic consciousness, this greater consciousness, to receive it. And then we express it. That's kind of like the next step is expressing it or being it, becoming and being it. There's some really powerful spiritual teachings. One of the ones I love is the Buddhist Noble Eightfold Path, because the Buddhists are so good at numbering things, and that path of right view and right speech and right thinking and right mindfulness and right action and right effort and right livelihood. It's a beautiful teaching on how we receive it and then we express it and live it. So I'm going to actually, I think later this year, give a talk on that series. I've done it before, and I just love that powerful teaching. But there are myriad spiritual teachings, that we'll explore this year on how we stay open and how we open more, and how we cooperate and co-create with the highest consciousness. You know, one of the things since my mom passed, I've been so intensely interested in, and I was before she passed, but more so after, is quantum science and what they're discovering now, because they are giving us some pieces. I mean, they're saying what the rishis were saying 5,000 years ago, but they're adding some pieces that are really helping me. And one of my favorite scientists is Ervin Laszlo. I want to do a book study group on him because he's just, I don't know why, I've only recently discovered him. He's 92 and he's just still putting out such powerful books and interviews and videos and information. But his latest book is about the importance of upshifting. I actually just saw Jean Houston was here for Christmas Eve, and she interviewed him about this book, and I found the video, so I was so excited about that. But he says that we've got to all step it up to create what he calls an upshift. You know, as I read the news now and then, I just, you know, want to stay in touch, but not too in touch. And I have to say that some of the predictions politically for 2024 filled me with some anxiety, just to be perfectly honest. But then as I breathed into it, you know, I really feel that those of us who can stay conscious in, you know, the tumultuous times, in the tumultuous period, we are the light bearers that are needed to get us all through. And so we can't get discouraged by the outpicturing of the downshifting, right? We can't, we just don't have time to get discouraged. Let me read what Laszlo wrote about it. I love how he puts it. We have a choice before us that is real and may be non-recurring. It is to upshift towards higher forms of life and higher forms of consciousness. It is upshifting to a peaceful and cooperative world. It's our choice to live up to our cosmic mission, our sacred mission. It's humanity's mission to safeguard and evolve life on Earth, and in that to foster the advance of consciousness in the universe. You know, I just love that. I just love him. Plus, he's a great piano player. He was a child prodigy, and when I was so blown away by his videos, but then when I found one of him playing piano, I just sobbed, and I want to meet him. I think I'll ask him if he'll speak here. At least he lives in Italy, so maybe he can speak to us at least from, you know, from the screen. So I don't know if he met Charles Fillmore, but I would have loved to have been there for their meeting. But Charles Fillmore wrote this, I think, important quote about how we downshift. He wrote, "Humanity has built age after age only to find that its structures do not endure. They are faulty because the divine plan has not been consulted by the builder." You know, I like that analogy. It's kind of like, you know, we decide we're going to build a house and we don't call a contractor, or we don't bother with an architect or, you know, a blueprint. We just go to, you know, Home Depot and get a bunch of stuff and go to our property and start nailing it together, right? And we wonder why it doesn't, you know, it falls apart, right? So Fillmore says our structures don't endure and are faulty because we need to ever consult, to stay connected to cooperate and co-create with the divine builder, with the divine plan. You know, I think we need to keep envisioning a humanity that does consult with the divine plan. And because I think if we all did, including and especially our world leaders, war would be obsolete. There's no need for war. We don't need war. We're beyond that. We know better, you know. We can live better. We don't need war. And, you know, I sometimes like to envision world spiritual leaders running the world. Like I have this fantasy about Alma, the hugging saint, and the Dalai Lama running the whole world. And I just know that if they did, everyone would be fed. I know that. Everyone would be hugged. Everyone would be fed. There would be, greed, and that comes from fear. That would be obsolete. That would dissolve. Separation would dissolve. Everyone's basic needs would be met, and because of that, people wouldn't have to leave their country. We have the technology to feed everyone already. We do have that. We could eradicate poverty right now. We need a collective desire for that. And we need a consciousness of we versus the me. That's our evolution. So, yeah, I wish we could just vote on the Dalai Lama. We start where we are, though. We start where we are. We got our little corner of the world to work on. Optimism is so important. It's so important. I'm so grateful my factory setting is optimism. I'm so grateful for that, because it is the most powerful creative force. It really is. We don't have time to be debilitated by despair. We don't have time for that. And when we are, we need to lift each other up, right? We got a song about that. But we just light our one candle like we did on Christmas Eve. It was such a beautiful ceremony to be in circle and all light. We started the light and it just grew around the circle, and it's such a representation. Ritual's important too, for opening to the divine. We shine our one candle, and we don't worry, we join together and the light grows, and we don't worry about those that are still downshifting, right? We bring them along. So Jean Houston called me Friday. It was so funny, day before yesterday, and invited me to a weekend retreat as her guest. And I was so touched, and I said, I'd love to come, Jean, but I have a church service. I do have this church I have to run. But I'm so delighted to have met her, and she did say she could likely speak for us in a couple months. So I started looking up Jean Houston quotes, and I found this one I love so much from Jean Houston. She wrote, "May I be so bold as to offer you a gift? If so, read on. I gift you with the courage to be, to know deeply the divine design of your life. I gift you with passion for the possible and the willingness to bring this possibility into time. You are more than you think you are, and something in you knows it. All the hurts and failures, all the wanderings, losings, dyings, and forgettings were but part of the gaining of the rich material of your life." And she says, we all have the extraordinary coded within us, waiting to be released. Isn't that exciting? The extraordinary is coded within you, waiting to be released. I know you're releasing it, but release it more, right? There's always more, right? Oh, my heart is opening so much. So in closing, as we enter this new year, I invite us all to take time to be quiet, to be still, to open and to receive. What is the divine design for your life now? For this day, for this week, for this year? What is the inner divine builder of your being ready to build, ready to create? What possibility, when you think of it, inspires passion? I remember it was early this summer that I started thinking of doing this unity community, starting up this unity here. And I had friends in Tahoe, and they were all like, well, they offered me another contract to stay another year in Tahoe as the minister there. But every time I talk about that, it just started to feel like a weight. And every time I started to talk about this, creating this in action, I lit up. The passion for the possible came alive, right? So we need to follow that. What makes us feel lit up, right? And joy and passion. We are more than we often think we are, right? So let's give our energy to what's possible, what's good, what's extraordinary in us, and align our minds so that we not only bring possibility into thought, but we bring it into that next step of expression and creation. Because after all, we are inseparable from that which lights the stars and shines the sun and is eternally creating innumerable worlds. Om Shanti, Om Peace. Thank you all.